It's finally time. We're in episode 1 of Best Church Logo 2021, and I am so excited, and I'm so thankful for you guys participating, giving me submissions, and sending over nominations for who you think has the best church logo. And what we're about to do is my buddy Trace and I are going to jump through and start judging and kind of like giving each of these a grade. We're going to judge all of the submissions. I've submitted stuff for review before. I've put things into contest or gone up for awards, and regardless of the score that I got, there was always this feeling inside of me like, okay, well, I didn't hear anything back, or, okay, they gave it a good score or a bad score, but why? Like, what's going on in their heads? Like, I want to be better for next year. How do I do that? And that's kind of what we're trying to do with this phase of the competition, is literally open up and share with you guys as we're looking at these together, like what's going on in our heads, what things are we evaluating. These are done in love, trying to be constructive. This is supposed to be a fun activity. And also, at the end of the day, like, we are opinionated humans. Like, we could be wrong. Like, there's a human factor that's playing in here, just like it is with the audience voting. So hopefully this is fun. Hopefully this is constructive. Either way, I'm really excited. Let's go ahead and jump in. Anchor Faith Church. What I'm seeing is everything is pretty clearly mapped out here. I feel like the right things are emphasized. I would be curious to know, like, why the name Anchor Faith and, how this is played out through other parts of the brand. I think it's got great motion to it. Feels a little dated in some respects, but like, it's clear, it's interesting. It's like ties in with the name. And I gave it a 4. Let me throw my score over there. Boom.
Ooh, nice. Okay, this one I thought this one was clear. What you're going to hear me say a lot is, like, feel like whenever you're judging just a logo, there needs to be a huge part of that is just clarity. And so I did give this particular logo a 3. That was for clarity. From far away, the gaps are big enough to tell. From far away, you can tell that this is 2 anchors kind of crossing. I think that there's like a lot of like symbolism that probably comes with that. The reason I didn't go higher was because there's some things as a larger lockup in terms of like the font, the spacing, diversity, the font hierarchy, and like the bold versus the thin line, those type of things.
Why are we all
there was less
part of it?
Right. There's some things there that made me want to like take that down a little bit. But overall, I thought it was clear with the name, which I thought was is an important thing when you're just looking at the logo. So, yeah.
And an excellent point about clarity with that shading, like making shadows and those little details still visible at like further distances is a tough one to get. It's
difficult to do. Yeah, for sure.
Antorchas Vivas. My Spanish is weak. Forgive me if I'm butchered that one. This one was a little tough for me. While it is clear and it's like, I like the color combo, I'm nervous that it communicates people on fire. And because we're using like the bathroom sign, dude, it feels like an official warning type of thing. So it immediately adds some confusion for me as the viewer and user in a way that is not helpful, in my opinion. Right. In the context of a church, I assume I know where they're going with this, and I love that. I love fire. I love people. I love these colors, but I feel like it needs some help. I feel like it's a little broken. I love you. I'm sorry. I gave this a 1.
Nice. Okay. I went down the same track as you. Where I landed actually first was just the idea of the full color. I'm not sure how this would work black and white. That was one thing I was kind of so easy. Everything you said plus that. The other thing would be this is where clarity goes against you, which you already mentioned. Like, it is very clear that this is a person on fire, which is not maybe easily received from anyone that is not familiar with this church or that it even is a church. So for that reason, I also gave it a 2. I give it a 2. Rock and roll. Design. Josh, are you having fun? Are you sweating yet?
I'm having
They're all out to get us.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing I need to cue everybody in on is how many sweaty hours it took, more than I thought, to get to this point. Now this is like the fun, like, hey, like we prepped all the pieces. Now let's do the thing. Yeah. All right. Battle Creek. All right. As a preface, a lot of people have brought this one up to me, both for this context and otherwise. Like, people, this is a crowd favorite. People love some Battle Creek. I am not necessarily one of them. I gave it a 3.
Right.
I feel like it's fine. I don't feel like it's special, and I feel like, I'm not sure what I would have necessarily done differently for this brand. Granted, we're just looking at the icon right now, but the full logo is this next to the word mark Battle Creek. I feel like we're missing an opportunity to tell more of a story, and it did the thing, and this is where Josh's opinion comes in, did the thing that a ton of modern churches do, where they get so minimal, so clean, that it feels like sterilized, and there's not, like there's no story there. There's no like life or thing. Like you could just like fill in the blank with whatever other initial here and just like kind of stylize it, if that makes sense. Now that is me being fairly brutal to something that a ton of people love. But that's where I stand. All that being said, it is well executed. And
I think
is certainly a solid logo.
I think those are really great points, and you're almost trying to convince me. I gave this a 4. It was a light 4 is where I was kind of landing. A light 4 where I was landing, and that was because of the storytelling, which is missing significantly from this. But what I do really love is, again, I'm going to use this exact same rationale kind of point as I did before in terms of like clarity and not necessarily knowing. I can kind of, which everyone sees right off the bat. We can see a B, and we can see this element of like a bookmark, which maybe isn't necessarily like uber creative or uber unique. However, from an outside perspective, I imagine some sort of like education, which I think can be really clear for those on the outside. The thing that also I noticed, I'll bring it up here because this is one of the first ones that does it, or actually Anchor Faith did it. Is it's a theme in a lot of the logos that we're going to see throughout the rest of this entire kind of what is this
competition competition? Who knows?
You'll notice is they're all a lot of them are encapsulated by something. They're all like in a circle or a circle around them or in a square or in some sort of shape, which when you have a strong logo, oftentimes than not, I'm actually against. And so I almost feel like bringing that B out could be nicer. You'd see those like angles a little bit more as opposed to like where they're kind of softened into just a general circle.
Now, huge caveat here, Trace, because some people actually brought this up to me in the previous rounds, like, oh man, like you showed like the worst version of our logo, and they would send me a different version. And to that I say, you are right. I'm sorry. What this is the product of is us like looking at the link that was sent by whoever submitted it, grabbing your Facebook profile image most of the time, and then like slapping that in here.
So what we're saying is there could be your Facebook. What we're saying
I was astonished how many did not have Facebooks or had like an old or different logo in there. It was interesting.
Yeah.
I feel you, dude. This one also got the audience bonus.
Right.
Cruising on along. Be the church. All right. I feel like this is interesting. I feel like it is, I don't know if I would recognize that like off the cuff as a B, but it's a cool, unique shape. Love that it's geometric. I love that it's clear. Could be embroidered on stuff, no problem. When your name is Be the Church, like this is a tough one to visualize. Like, Anchor Faith, like clearly you go with an anchor. With some of these, there is no really great like image to go with it. Like in these cases, like I would like hammer home with the crowd, like, hey, like I need you guys to help me with a visual. And sometimes you just end up as like, sorry, all we can do is an initial, and hey, that's cool. If that's your world, this is an excellent execution of an initial and a very unique presentation. I gave it a 4.
I'm right there with you. I thought it was really strong. I thought like in terms of monograms go, because we're almost entering into the monogram world, it doesn't take the traditional like loopy kind of letter forms with like BE. It just goes uber geometric and has that B and the E. I thought also Be the Church is like in that B is like honestly one of the more powerful things there. And I really like that. Again, here we are where this is where if I was in this branding process, I would love to see it outside of that square. However, I'll tell you that I think the square here does a lot with
I was about to argue you on that one. Yeah. I think
here the
square helps a lot.
Right. Yeah. I think the square kind of helps soften some of those jagged shapes. So I think that's nice. Okay. Be the
Shout
church. I
out.
gave
We
it
don't
a 4 as well.
have artists for all of these. Oh, I'm sorry. We missed Juan Mellado. Wow, Josh, good job. For Antorchas Vivas. And this one is Doxology Creative, a.k.a. Matt Higgins.
Nice.
Breakthrough Church. This one makes me angry. Because
why, Josh? Why does it make you angry?
Because it's so good. And because it's got a B and a star, and Bright Coal has a B. It starts with a B and has a similar kind of star like this. And I'm not mad that I never get mad that people like steal ideas. Not saying that's what happened here. I'm mad that I didn't have this idea. I'm mad that they absolutely crushed an idea that I should have done for myself. Not to totally like pull a Kanye and like make this award ceremony about myself in any way, shape, or form. I mean this as the highest praise possible. I absolutely love this logo. They did a fantastic job. I love that the breakthrough, like it's literally like breaking into the letter, like the alignment of the curves and the star line here. And this is even like a crappy rendition of it. And there's other cooler seals of it, which are not a factor in this grading competition. Sorry, but this is excellent. I gave it a 5.
Yeah, I want to highlight some of the key points here, I think, of why it deserves or why I also gave it a 5. I have no relation to Bright Coal or that like jealousy element. However,
no weird qualms about this.
I have no weird qualms, but design wise, there's just some really strong. This is where the difference between really great design and really good design start to show through. And I just want to highlight a few of those as intentional choices or accidental choices that just ended up happening. One of the things I want to highlight is the overall stature and stance of the B. It's not tall. It's not short and stubby. They're not using like a Druck wide and trying to be uber modern. They're not using like a Bebes or some sort of ultra high. Like I think it's a really strong letter shape that is intentional. Maybe it wasn't, but it's happening here and it's done well. The shape and curve of the B and the fact that the point of the star in the middle doesn't go all the way across is really strong. It doesn't make it, it doesn't help. It helps keep the shape of the B, which is really strong. And the third thing I'll point out that's specific is the star point on the other side that, like Josh mentioned, breaks through. The top entrance is straight across and the bottom entrance kind of rounds down. It keeps the shape of the B abstract enough to be interesting, but keeps it clear enough to still tell you like, no, I'm a B. It's for breakthrough. And I think there's a lot of designers that would look at this, know it's a good logo, but maybe when you're designing, I'll talk for myself. I mean, I could have been making this and the entrance, maybe I decided to round it off both. And the thing is that would probably still be a really good logo, but there are enough interesting factors and enough strength in this that all done really well. And it makes me actually want to see the rest of the brand and hopefully hope they didn't ruin it. So Breakthrough Church, for this icon, I gave it a 5.
High marks all around. It was also an audience favorite, making it our first perfect score. Ding, 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 ding.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, so many more things I could keep talking about with this, but we're going to keep on cruising on to the Bridge Church. Okay, so I like that we used as few lines as possible to communicate a bridge. That being said, I feel like there's a few things about this that make me feel like it's a little dated. I do think in this case, like if you're going to do this move, you have to put it in something and like subtract it out. I think that for whatever reason, it's really this little guy like makes me angry. It makes it feel like it's like a brush stroke, which feels a little dated, feels a little out.
Right.
I don't know. I don't quite know what I would fix about this. I like the simplicity of it, but overall it just, and this is again, that opinion thing. It just makes me not super excited. I gave it a 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, my spreadsheet's out of line over here.
No, you're good. Yeah. So I am, similarly, I came to the same conclusion. I gave this a 3. I was dancing on the idea of giving it a 4, but I think overall, because it shows bridge and there's that clarity there, it also says a lot of things. It also says path. It also says kind of water. Again, we're locked into color.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I also get water from this like single stroke that comes across. There's also just a lot of movement with that shape that kind of brushes across there. That kind of happens, but it doesn't necessarily always give me the word bridge. And then the shape itself, the hexagonal kind of shape, doesn't necessarily give me anything towards the brand. It kind of gives me a little bit of the idea of like connection and maybe like shape or like a structure, because I think honeycomb. But again, that doesn't necessarily lend to giving me helpful information. So I give it a 3 for this one.
Bing bong. City Church, Memphis.
Yeah.
All right. This is one. It's going my notes on this are going to come up a couple of other times in this talk. To me, this is a graphic. This is not a logo. How on God's green earth does this get embroidered into a hat or like anywhere else? Also, the scale of items. We've got very narrow little hash marks for the bridge here. You've got an outer glow on your skyline. You got shadows. I have no idea how this looks at really small sizes. I also have no idea what it looks like in single color. You would literally almost need a separate logo for single color, probably pull out the city and the script church and use those alone. I think that there could be some ideas that work well here. I'd probably pick one of these landmarks potentially. But yeah, this one needs to be fixed. I give it a 1. Again, this is a 1 spoken in love, but I'm trying to help you think through why I would adjust some things.
Yeah, no, I think those are all helpful points. It's obvious that you love the city. It's City Church. And it's obvious that you love the city because in this graphic, you're including several landmarks like Josh mentioned. So I would suggest redoing the logo, including and specifically kind of locking in on one of those landmarks and making it more clear. I also gave it a 1.
And one of the ways, if you've got a situation like this where it's like, hey, none of these, we can't pick one because we're not in, XYZ building or we're not close to the bridge thing, is to like rope those into a pattern or secondary elements and then figure out ways that we could say, okay, what about the city of Memphis? Like, how does that city feel? And then let's figure out like ways to evoke that in a smaller, simpler mark.
Yeah.
City Collective. All right. I think this one's cool. I like that it doesn't feel like a church logo. It feels, like interesting, fresh, feels more like a coffee shop or something else like that. That being said, I'm always going to be a proponent. I think we've already talked about it on this conversation, but I'm always going to bang the drum of like, how do we say things other than initials? Because while this is a good execution of initials, what's to stop any other CC named organization from doing something very similar. You want to be uncopyable if you can. That being said, like this is cool. Like I would wear that on a sweatshirt or whatever if I went to that church, no problem. I give it a 4, solid.
Nice. I also gave it a 4. It didn't get higher than that because I think there's some things that could happen with the word marks, the City Collective being spelled out in a different type of typeface. It doesn't feel super clear with the monogram, but I do like the execution of the monogram. And here I go saying the same thing over. The encapsulation, like the circle surrounding it, I'd be interested in just pulling that out and taking that out and kind of playing with that stacking. So that's
for me. I think it would come down to like how you treat the word. Like if you tried a little harder with the type, and like the name, like maybe it doesn't need it, but I do like the circle around it, especially because it's the same weight. I don't know. It feels like a nice little tight unit, but again, I could be easily convinced otherwise depending on how the name or the word mark is done. This one did get the audience score, so it's doing great. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe, share this with a buddy, and leave a comment. Let us know, like, hey, look, this one's my favorite, because we will be taking those into account in the final score, who comments on the next round of judging. And also it's helpful to hear like, hey, you guys totally missed it on this. This is why I think this one's better too. I don't know. I can hear some feedback like that. Brought to you by Vive Media Company, serving and supporting churches through unlimited graphics, video, and now branding work. If you ever need help, hit me up. I'm with the team. I love it. And that's going to do it for the first episode of Best Church Logo 2021. I'm so pumped. Hang around and stay tuned for the next one. If you want to see all the nominees, visit bestchurchlogo.com. We got them all up there right now.